10 years in time. So it's 2030. And you are stepping out of the tunnel. How does it feel to be in the body that you are in at that time?
Feels liberating. Feels very comfortable and familiar.
Look around you. The place, the people, the community that is around you. What do you see?
I see fruit trees and gardens and people working the land and children playing and animals being raised. It feels quite idyllic.
Yes. How do people treat each other at this time?
With respect and love and acknowledgement. Very giving, very open. Not much fear. There's a deeper sense of purpose and knowingness and connectedness to Source.
Very nice. Are people doing anything to help with that connection? Do they have certain practices that they do that help them to connect?
Yeah, it feels like everything that they do is a prayer and gratitude, whether it's sowing a seed or harvesting food or taking in fresh air or sunlight. There's a sense of sacrament and ritual to life.
So how does it feel to be a part of that community?
It's pretty ecstatic. Feels like such a gift. Yeah.
How are the children treated in that community?
Oh, they're celebrated. They're treated like little people and not kids. They're completely integrated in the community and in everyday life. There's no shielding or yeah, the kids feel like they're aware and they're not being illusioned or, delusioned, I guess.
What about the elderly people?
They're integrated as well. They're celebrated and cherished, and they're part of the community. They're not separate. Everyone's alongside one another. Everyone feels like they belong.
So they're not put away in places or...
Yeah. They're not cloaked or hidden.
How are decisions made in that time?
Decisions feel like they're made communally, but there is a higher council that is considered and that is weighs in on the decision-making process. But everyone has a voice. Everyone is heard, if nothing else.
What would you say were the qualities that enabled people to be part of the higher council? How did they have to be?
It feels like it's their acts. Somehow the acts in which they engaged in life
Mm.
and the things that they aided and helped with made them part of that council.
So their service to the community, really.
Yes, completely. That is their calling. That is their.
How do they come to be on the council? What's the process there?
It feels as though they're somehow voted in or nominated,
Yeah.
and it's completely their choice of whether or not they wish to accept it. There's no pressure.
Mm.
Um, it feels very balanced, and it's definitely an honor for the people in that council. They take their position very seriously, and there's no abuse of their power and position. There's a deeper awareness that everyone holds, so there's no need for power trips.
Right. So, what form of exchange do people have for their service, their work in the community? Is there money or is there some other way of being rewarded?
I think it feels there's a lot of bartering, so it's a lot of either food or resources, I guess.
Mm.
And within that, it feels that jewels and stones, things that we've taken for granted, um, come of higher value for the capacities and powers that they hold.
Mm-hmm. What kind of technology are you using, say, for communication or teaching?
Feels like there's a lot of telepathic.
Mm.
It also feels like there's free energy. We've gone back to old methods of residing
Mm.
as one, not only with the planet, but with the cosmos. And so we've downloaded or remembered older technologies that were way more advanced that we've lost touch with.
Mm.
So it feels quite effortless as far as everyone getting their needs met and staying warm or whatnot.
Mm. Let's look at the buildings that these people are living in. What do they look like?
They're earthen. There's a lot of organic shapes, very, very few sharp edges.
Mm.
Um, they're earth tones. They're very simple. They meet our needs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not grandiose. It feels like there's places of worship or labyrinths, other places that we hold in higher regards, but it's no longer the McMansions. It's very simple and to the point,
Mm.
and yet very aesthetically pleasing and beautiful because we've gone back to being artisans.
Is sacred geometry part of the layout and the planning for this, where you live, the community?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like everything is in relationship to this sacred geometry. There's a balance and a co cohesion, I guess. It's just a flow that really works.
Mm.
regardless of what perspective you're looking at it or engaging from.
Mm,
It feels integrated
very good.
and regenerative.
Mm.
There's constantly a regeneration of energy for that which we consume.
So I'd like you to, as you stand in this place in the future, 2030, 10 years from where we are now, I want you to look back through time. Tell me, what was it that made people refocus in this way? This is so different from the way that we're living now, where everything is so competitive and we have these highly mechanized lives. What was it that changed people's way of thinking?
Suffering is what comes up.
Mm.
I think that people recognized that we were making ourselves sick and suffering and distracting ourselves, and in removing the distraction, you recognized what's really important, which is our connection to Source, to Father, Mother, God, and to the divinity within. And it feels like in the moment that we acknowledge the divine within, we must acknowledge the divine throughout and within each of us. So there's some veil that's been lifted,
Mm.
and we're finally able to see with clear vision and have a choice, have free will of whether or not we choose to engage with truth or not. But it seems that those who chose to see truth created a lifestyle around our connection with Source, our connection with God. So everything feels like a sacrament, everything feels like a ritual.
Mm.
I guess we embodied a deeper sense of presence.
Absolutely. So, looking back from this place in the future, there was a time back in 2020 when there was a virus and everything stopped, or manufacturing stopped, business stopped, people stayed at home for a long time. Can you tell me what effect this shutdown, this stopping of the daily business, what effect did that have on humanity?
It feels like it brought people's issues to the surface.
Mm.
They could no longer distract themselves in the same manner in which they were accustomed to. For some, it really brought to light what was really important, which is our love of ourselves, our love of our brothers and sisters, our love of our planet, love of God. So it shifted that for some, and for others, they suffered a lot and chose to continue to suffer because somehow their lifestyle with apparatuses defined their lives.
Mm-hmm. They define their lives by the outside, not the inner.
Yes, yes.
So those people who chose to connect to their own divinity, what did they do?
They trusted and surrendered, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
They worked together and helped each other out on multiple levels, emotionally, monetarily. It feels like people learned to become generous, generous with their souls, generous with their emotions.
So then would you say that this virus was an important step in the awakening process?
Definitely invaluable.
What about people now who think it's a big hoax and that we shouldn't be staying home and it was all a plot?
I think for those, they need to believe what they need to believe.
Mm,
And everyone has their own timing.
yeah,
And I think that sometimes we can't rush other people's processes.
right.
Even if it all was a lie, I think we have an option and a choice to look beyond that which is the surface to see what is the gift behind it. And it's forced people to slow down. It's forced people to look at their lives. It's forced people to look at their livelihoods, to their behaviors, to their consumption. So there's a bigger gift that's been given. And it is unfortunate that perhaps lies need to be spun for, you know, these transitions to take place. But I think we have to focus on the bigger picture beyond the moment.
Because if none of this had happened and this change didn't take place, what would we see for the future of humanity then if we didn't do anything differently? What
Exactly.
would we
Uh,
be for our future generations?
yeah, more disconnected and yeah, yeah,
So no matter what created it, we can see it as a gift,
yeah,
humanity, and for our children and children's children.
indeed.
So if there's one thing that you would say to people who are struggling at this time with financial issues, with loneliness, being isolated, what would you want to say to them to help them to get through this time?
To really connect to something higher and bigger than themselves, which to me is God. But I think on a simple level is for them to connect with whatever it is that they're passionate about and whatever it is that brings them joy outside of a device, outside of ourselves. What within ourselves, what capacity do we have to tap into that which is infinite, that brings us joy and peace? Yeah.
That's right, thank you.